What's going on, everybody? I've been granted temporary access to Mojo this time through the Content Creator Program, and unfortunately I don't have enough time to put together a full Origin-style video for Mojo like I did for Longshot, but I am going to give a kind of first impressions of Mojo. We'll take him for a quick test run, see how he is, give some pros and cons to the champion. He's a little bit complicated if we are trying to read through all of his abilities, which we are not going to do. The one thing that I do want to call out, however, is that he has a list of audience prompts here, and the way it works is that you have to, the game's going to be calling out different things for you to do, and you have to complete those in order to gain Mojo's abilities. And we'll go through those, throughout the fight. It's just random prompts that will come up. One last thing before we get into the fight, I'm going to be doing this without any synergies, kind of. So Mojo, he comes with some kind of self-activating synergies here. One is for all champions except for Mojo, which is a plus 7% offensive power rate, and then the other is for Mojo only, which is to gain plus 5% power gain. And then I am going to throw one synergy in here. This is not required to play the champion. All it does is that when a prompt is completed, Mojo gains an unstoppable buff for 5 seconds. I'm only doing this so that there's some sort of visual representation of when I complete a prompt, because there's a lot going on in the fight. It's kind of chaotic. The prompts come up so fast, and sometimes they're just completed automatically through your regular gameplay. So at least you'll have some sort of way to see that, hey, I went unstoppable, I must have completed a prompt. I recommend, if you're trying the champion out for the first time yourself, to do the exact same thing. Throw in either Gladiator, Hulk, or Korg, just so you can see when you're completing the prompt. Alright, let's go ahead and pop into a fight. We're going to take this guy for a test spin in against the official test dummy of the contest, which is Winter Soldier. And I'm testing specifically against Winter Soldier because he does not have a lot of buffs. Ideally, you want to be in a situation where the opponent has buffs, but you can't always do that. Alright, we'll launch a heavy attack there. You'll notice that the heavy attack actually had a longer than average reach on it. That was the first prompt. Oh, we got another charge heavy attack prompt. It's random, so he actually, you know what's important to call out? He activated that prompt because it's either of us. If either of us complete these prompts, that's, it's nice. It's not, you're kind of working together. He doesn't realize it. The opponent is helping you. Dash backwards, that's all that one was. Okay, so we did that. And now I can start dealing some good damage. You need 5 of those thumbs ups in order to start dealing some good damage. It kind of plays into Mojo's Awaken ability. But once you have those, then yeah, you're good to go, man. And you gain one for each persistent charge. You notice he is a persistent charge champion, but you don't need to do a lot of fights to really start taking advantage of Mojo's abilities. It's just that when you do have the persistent charges, you'll start the fight with your your max amount of thumbs ups there. It's there really is no limit to the amount of thumbs up that you have, but they don't really matter past 5. You're able to kind of gain and lose them. So going above 5, the only benefit is that if you lose them by failing to complete a prompt, you'll still be able to deal good damage. All right, this one is to stun the opponent, which we'll do. Pop another special too. You can see I'm dealing some good degen damage. That's where most of Mojo's damage comes from. His regular attacks are not that strong. They're not that weak once I have this Fury buff going. You'll see some crits that will be, light attack is above 2,000. The medium attacks are above 3,200. For a champion not running suicides, that's not bad, but a lot of the damage does come from the special 2 and the degen that you get with it. Just to go over all of his specials real quick, special 1, all it does is nullify buffs. The special 2 applies the degen damage. This one's to block for a second and a half. That's what that prompt was. So the special 2 is to apply the degen damage, and the special 3 also applies degen and will automatically complete whatever prompt you have. I kind of see the special 2 and special 3 as the same. Oh, this one is to end a buff. Watch this. This is pretty cool. I ended the buff on myself. That's what the prompt was, to end the buff. So you can either nullify the opponent, or you can just kind of dash back, gain dexterity on yourself, and then attack the opponent to complete that prompt. It really just happens like automatically with Mojo, man. Like it might seem complicated at first, but these prompts kind of just complete themselves half the time. But anyway, what I was saying about the special 2 and special 3, with Mystic champions, if you're running maxed out Mystic Dispersion, it's not always that easy to control which special attack you're doing. but both the Special 2 and Special 3 are going to deal that nice degen damage. So you don't really, it doesn't really matter which you're using, which allows you to take full advantage of having high levels of Mystic Dispersion without it being kind of a downside. All right, one other thing I want to point out is, you know, whenever I complete a prompt, really what I'm doing is I'm gaining this anti-life aura. That's the green skull and crossbones icon. And I'm getting a Fury alongside of it because Mojo's awakened. But that anti-life field, there's a few nice things about it. Let me knock down the opponent here for a second. Okay. One, it's going to reduce the uptime of buffs on the opponent by 90%, which in some situations is nice. Against Winter Soldier, it doesn't really matter. Let's complete this prompt by holding block. Okay, there we go. But again, yeah, against Winter Soldier it doesn't really matter. But you can tell it also pauses when I use a special and when the opponent uses a special too. So keep your eye on that green skull and crossbones next time I have it. It's paused right now, and I'm gonna bait out a special one from Winter Soldier. You're gonna see it'll still be paused. Go ahead, buddy. Oh, he made me a liar. Okay, I have to punish the special for this prompt to be completed. Okay, so we'll do that real quick. And I want to get him to use another special one. Just watch the pause duration on that green skull and crossbones. So that's really nice. And it's still paused when he uses special, paused when I use a special. Compared to most champions, you know, sometimes you activate a Fury buff and you can't take advantage of the Fury. This one's just to idle for a second. Okay, completed that. You can't take advantage of the Fury, but with Mojo, you're always able to take advantage of the Furies. So it's really nice. Use a special attack. Okay, we'll finish this guy off with a special too. Alright, that was the last prompt. Let's see. So, again, this is without any sort of suicide masteries or anything. And I was able to do the fight in a total of 161 hits. And that is not just me spamming heavy attack to get that low hit count or something like that. I did slow down the fight a little bit to try my best to explain what was going on. But it's kind of chaotic, so, you know, all in all, though, his damage is really good. Here's my mastery setup in case you're curious of what that looks like. It's, you know, I have 3 out of 5 Assassin, no points in Glass Cannon, no points in the other Suicide Masteries. Defensively, this setup doesn't really matter, but the one thing that's really important with this guy is Mystic Dispersion. I really, truly feel like Mystic Dispersion is maybe not 100% necessary to play Mojo, but in order to have fun with Mojo, in order to be spamming those specials and everything, you gotta have Mystic Dispersion. Even though I was in a situation where Winter Soldier does not have a lot of buffs naturally, I'm able to apply buffs to Winter Soldier. They're called hater buffs, actually. You know, at first I kind of hated that this guy was just like, I don't know, man. It was a little too real with some of the description of him being like this kind of social media type guy where he wants these followers and everything. It was a little too real being a YouTuber, reading like you're just trying to gain all these followers and subscribers and stuff. But I did find it really funny. This line right here: once you have 5 million followers, completing a prompt has a 100% chance to place a hater buff on the opponent for 20 seconds. Basic attacks also have a 15% chance to place one, and haters, they have no effect. This guy is the ultimate YouTuber right here, man. They got no effect on him. So yeah, you know, again, as far as the each million followers, that's just represented by the thumbs up icon. For having 1 million, every time a buff expires or is nullified off the opponent, Mojo heals for 3% of his missing health. At 3 million, when the prompt is completed, Mojo gains some power. And at 5 million, that's when he's putting the hater buffs on the opponent. And when you have Mojo awakened, that's when he's gaining that massive attack increase. It's kind of a pro and a con to be able to gain that much attack. If you don't have that Fury buff on you, your damage is pathetic. If you have that Fury buff, well, it's really nice. For a rank 3 5-star without suicides, his damage was very legit. So some other downsides to the champion, we'll go through his stats real quick. He has very low crit and crit damage rating, but it doesn't matter a ton because most of his damage comes from degen. The block proficiency, however, that does matter. It is definitely below average at only 56%. So yeah, that's not so nice. But keep in mind, Mojo, he does heal, and even though his heal is not the biggest heal, he also has a crazy high max health. His base health, when fully maxed out as a 5-star, 565, is above 37,000. So although he's going to take a little bit of extra damage from blocking, he also recovers that a bit from healing. How well that's going to work out in high-level content, endgame content, it's a little bit hard to say. Because you're firing off more specials, it feels like you don't need to parry as much to get your openings, as long as you're good at evading specials. So it feels like Mojo is the type of champion where he might be a little bit more difficult to take advantage of his abilities for a newer player, but you know, maybe the more experienced players out there will be able to play this guy pretty effectively. The other downside, however, is that he doesn't have immunities. He's lacking immunities. He even has a little bit of negative physical resistance there. He even has a little bit less power from landing hits, which didn't seem to matter as long as you're running Mystic Dispersion. You gain power other ways, but still, these are definitely some downsides. And also, you need to invest a lot of resources into Mojo for him to have as much damage as he has. Again, all of his damage comes from having those 5 million followers on yourself, which comes from the 5 thumbs up icons, which you start the fight with them based on your persistent charges, but you can gain them as well just throughout the fight. So you really need to be completing his prompts to gain those thumbs ups in order to increase his attack. And if he's not awakened, if he doesn't have high sig level, the attack increase is not going to be there. So can you justify investing a lot of resources into Mojo? I'm going to need some more time to tell. It's just something to keep in mind about this champion. If you just get him and you're playing him unawakened, he's going to suck. He's going to suck. He definitely needs to be awakened, I would say. So I'm going to do some more testing. I'll probably do some live testing later tonight. Just a kind of a quick little demo. The other thing that I kind of failed to mention, in detail at least, is that anti-life field, it reduces the buff duration on the opponent by 90%, which is huge. You know, think about going up against opponents that are unstoppable. They're barely going to have any uptime on that. Champions that heal, champions that have fury buffs, any kind of buff that is annoying to deal with, they're going to expire very quickly. You're going up against Hyperion with a power gain, you're barely going to notice it. So that's really nice. And then if the opponent has buffs, anytime a buff is nullified or expires off the opponent, Mojo passively degenerates them, which is also nice. Again, if you're going up against opponents that have lots of buffs, he's going to really excel in those situations. So it's a little bit hard to tell exactly how viable Mojo is, but I will say what seemed to be kind of daunting when I first looked at the champion, like, oh no, man, you gotta pay attention to all these prompts. Really not that bad to play with. So with some more testing, we'll figure out exactly how viable this guy is in some end game content. But that's gonna do it for my initial impression of Mojo, at least, and we'll test him later. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.